A suicidal descent added to a technological advance more typical of mountain biking, and an end not suitable for cardiacs, resulted in one of the most exciting races in recent years. Do you know the history of Mohoric and the dropper seat post at Milan-San Remo 2022? Then follow my wheel and I'll tell you. Milan-San Remo is the monument with the most predictable development. The classic race for the showcasing of sprinters and rollers, a marathon of physical and mental exhaustion. A 300-kilometer elimination exercise with 6 levels of small slope where climbers struggle to pick up the sprinters. Rollers try to keep up the pace to control the race, and the fight in the last 30 kilometers with the ascents of Cyprus and Poggio is fierce. But every now and then, we have some surprises, like the one given to us last year by Slovenian Matej Mohoric, an excellent rider, world champion in lower categories, and stage winner in all Grand Tours, who is possibly the best descender of the peloton. The cyclist of Bahrain Merida, in a suicidal maneuver and using a technology more typical of BTT, surprised the big favorites on the descent of the Poggio, thanks, they say, to the dropper seat post. Do you believe it? Stay until the end of the video and find out. The 2022 edition of La Clasiquísima featured an impressive lineup of favorites. Matthew van der Poel, Wout van Aert met again in another great duel after the cyclo-cross season. They were joined by cyclists such as Slovenians Roglic, Pogacar, and of course Mohoric, who, together with Sagan, Alaphilippe, and Kwiatkowski, would try to surprise the sprinters' teams. At the start line, it was heard that Matej Mohoric had been preparing the test all winter. The competition was going to be huge. As expected, the race began with a fast-paced fight in search of the breakaway, and quickly formed a group of 8 riders, where the Astana and Iolo teams had double representation. Riders like Tonelli, Tagliani, Rivi, Ricardo Zurita, and Diego Pablo Sevilla reached a maximum difference of 7.5 minutes, with a peloton that traveled calmly at the pace that marked above all jumbo teams, trying to control the race. Once the race reached the Mediterranean coast, teams such as Bahrain and, above all, the UAE of Pogacar joined Jumbo to seek neutralization and reach the last 30 kilometers, where the race is decided with the ascents to the Cipressa and the Poggio, with the options intact for their leaders. As the league was gradually selected, the differences began to decrease in a more serious way. The escape was sentenced. Before arriving in Cipressa, one of the great favorites, the Slovakian Peter Sagan, suffered a mechanical breakdown that was going to end his chances of victory. The race was launched and was no longer expected by anyone. Cyclists entered the Cipressa with the group of escapees still ahead, but the race was behind. David Formolo, the UAE rider, imposed a pace that practically left the group of favorites selected in 25 units, thus preparing the ground for Pogacar's attack on the ascent to Poggio. The nerves in the peloton were on the surface. Truth moment had arrived. We entered the Poggio with a fierce fight between the teams to place their leader. Van der Poel, Van Aert, Pogacar, the pace was devilish. The first to try, at 8 kilometers from the finish line, was the brave Slovenian Pogacar, who quickly took all the favorites to his wheel. The Slovenian was forced to slow down in his attack, but true to his combative character, he would try again a few meters later. But the marking between the favorites was constant, and this led to a new break. Mohoric came within the group. If he reached the top with the best, he was going to become a great candidate for victory. Primož Roglic also sought to surprise, but Van der Poel, Van Aert, and above all, Pogacar were not going to give away a meter. The show was amazing, although the best moment of the race was yet to come. Just at the moment of crowning the Poggio, Mohoric passed like a plane to take the lead and make one of the most famous descents in history. Like NIBALI in 2018, a video that we have on the channel and that I leave in the description for you to see later, the Slovenian played everything for the hole in a descent, rushing in every centimeter of the curves and breaking a little after the last moment, which led to him even having a couple of scares, dodging the ditches as if we were talking about Nino Schurter. He managed to reach the plane with a few meters of advantage. It seemed like little distance, but the Slovenian is a greyhound, and behind no one was going to empty himself in the hunt. The Slovenian had the victory very close. Van Aert, Van der Poel, and everyone started looking at each other. And so, the Slovenian Matej Mohoric, after risking his life in the descent of Poggio, got what is, possibly, the victory of more throne of his career. After the end, controversy would form. A controversy that even threatened to alter the standards of known cycling. Mohoric told the finish line that he had used a dropper seat post, something typical of mountain biking, which had given him a small advantage over the others on the descent. This sent rivers of ink flowing. Even the great experts did not agree. Did Mohoric win thanks to the advantage that the dropper seat post gave him in the descent? Or did he simply win because he was the best and would have won the same with a conventional seat post? Will the Slovenian repeat this year? Leave me your opinion in the comments. Be that as it may, the fact is that the Slovenian Mohoric got a victory of great prestige after a huge day of exciting cycling. Give me a like, and if you want to continue enjoying the best races in the world, don't miss this.